Immortals.
Welcome, mere mortal lights, to another episode of the Mere Mortals Musings. This is where you have your two favorite mere mortals here. You've got Kyron.
You got Juan here.
And Juan, and we are here on the 10th. Oh, sorry. Wait, yeah, 10th?
12th.
12th. Oh, shit. My date has moved around on my computer. It's gone to the American time now. That's very annoying. We're on the 12th of October, 2023. And we are going to be talking about our goals from last year, going over how we actually went. We talked about what we're planning for this next year coming up, or for our next, August to August for Juan, and kind of October to October for myself. But we didn't actually have a little think about just how we went last year, any learnings that we've had from that, just a kind of look back session and see how we're going. We are live as usual here, a different day. We're on a Thursday here at the moment because Juan had life happen to him. So we're still coming out. The audio will still be released at the same time as usual. So I wanted to actually start off, instead of looking at our goals, Juan, I wanted to ask you about evaluating progress, and in particular, measuring the unquantifiable, because so much of our goals were these things which were, how do you quantify if I got better at a German conversation? It's kind of ephemeral, and we've talked about why we kind of make these things. But if we're doing like a little review section like we are tonight, how are we going to go about it? What were your thoughts with regards to, if it's not a simple yes or no, I did it or I didn't do it, but it can be something murky in between, and that could even be a tendency for some people, or to where it's like, oh yeah, I got that last rep in the gym, and it's like, no, you didn't get even close to it, but they count it. What are your thoughts with regards to that?
Well, I was going to say, so I try to move away. So I've tried to move away from the yes, no, like yes, you did it, no, you did it, to try to introduce the gray zones. And in fact, I color code my annual goals that I've done in the past as well. And there's like green for absolutely has been done. And then there's different shades of gray, which I've got. There's different shades of gray of like how much I actually did. But when I'm beyond the quantifiable, I do look at it sometimes in the quality sense, more on experiences or things that are happening in a day-to-day life, and then reflecting on, oh yeah, I can see how some of the past goals that I've actually done, while perhaps not going the 100%, have affected those particular days in some beneficial way. So maybe along those lines, have you got like an actual tactic or drill or thing that you do for it yourself?
Yeah, there was two things I noted. So one was, I think you actually can measure it. So it's this unquantifiable thing. How are you going to measure it? I think you actually can.
Okay.
So if you retroactively look at it and counting hours, you can kind of measure progress, because sometimes when I set a goal, for example, of I just want to get better at German, or I want to be able to have a conversation in German. Okay, well, what does that actually mean? Does that mean I have a 1 minute, 30-second conversation of, do you know where the bathroom is? Oh, it's over that way. Oh, thank you. Is it free at the moment? Is it a long distance to go? No, it's not. You turn left, you turn right, and then you're there. That's a conversation you can have in German with 2 hours of effort, to be honest. It's not ridiculous to do that. But if you wanted to have that conversation over 30 minutes, and you wanted it to be free flowing, and you wanted to have some other things come up where it's like, oh well, the toilet's actually out in the garden, so you're gonna have to go around there. Watch out for the snakes, because there's Australia, there's the snakes in here and things like that. That's where it's like, if you're setting that goal, you actually have no idea how much it'll take to do that. So if you kind of look back, and I can look back at this last year, and when, if I can go through all the goals and watch all of our episodes and see how much of that I actually did, I can be like, oh yeah, I probably did about, I don't know, 60 hours of German this last year, or maybe it's less, 30 hours. And then I can actually see, oh, I got pretty decent at this. I got to this level here. So it's for those things which you're kind of uncertain about. Similar for stretching for me. I wanted to get the full middle splits, full pancake, and a full front splits. And I'd kind of measured before how I got to the point where I'm at now, but I'm in like this weird danger zone where I've only got about that much left to go, but that much is and what I for those who are just listening, it's like, an extra 5-10 centimeters from the ground to get my ass fully on the ground, my crotch fully on the ground, or my hips fully square. That's the hardest bit. And so it's only after this last year of putting in, the amount of hours I can go, oh yeah, I actually can. So I think you can only measure it retroactively. You can't do it because it's kind of uncertain when you're creating the goal itself. The other one was just playing hypotheticals and kind of counter arguments. I did this a little bit in preparation for this, where I was going, okay, what would I have done instead? So let's say I have, this goal to do German. I had this goal to kind of like meet a girl. I had this goal, and we'll go over them and exactly what our goals were. Um, I think I actually spent a little bit of time just being like, look, if I'd spent an extra 30 hours of German, so let's just say I did 30, and if I'd spent an extra 30, how much would that have taken away from these other things I was trying to do? And I think I could actually paint somewhat a picture in my head of, sure, I would have been way more advanced in German, but the podcast would be suffering. I'd probably still be doing book reviews like I used to do them, just because it took time to learn how to do live, to get the setup, to switch over to Blueberry for the value for value show, to et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think you can actually measure these type of things, not really well, but sometimes you can kind of measure it retroactively. And then also if you play hypotheticals and counter arguments, you can kind of get an idea of, okay, yeah, this is actually how I kind of did go for this.
Yeah, okay. I guess I see where you're coming from. I guess it's trying to reword it in my own sense. It's you set out a goal, which sometimes at the onset of the goal, you don't realistically know what the success metrics of that look like. One, it could be new technology or new things that you're completely unaware of what the results could be. So even if you set yourself a goal, a target of insert 10, whatever, you don't know if 10's a good thing.
I wanted to learn Python. I didn't really know what that meant. Did that
Mm.
mean being able to code freehand and know the nuances of the language deep in and out? Did that mean getting enough just to be able to write a script to automatically download things from our RSS feed, which was kind of what my little thing in mind was? Did it mean to create a program? Yeah, I didn't exactly know what it meant when I set that.
And I would say my challenging side would go, I think what you're articulating is just that you sucked at actually laying out the original question well enough.
No,
My
I
ki-
disagree. I think I laid it out really nicely.
but then my kind self goes, yeah, but you can't realistically do that unless you know the topic at hand very well, or you go and seek out other people who have either kind of accomplished similar things, because you don't know what you don't know. So I kind of say it in like both ends of the equation, because you're right. It'll only be you, like especially when you're going through like goals, and I've seen this myself. When I go from an annual goal to an next annual goal, it's only retrospectively that then I go, oh, I should have done that better, and I could have written it better. I could have questioned it better. I could have targeted this particular thing. But it's after you've gone through the journey of learning those things. So I think there's an aspect to the reality. Oh, hey, you probably didn't lay out your goal well enough, or what, like the question wasn't asked in a good enough way. But I think that is embedded in the fact that yes, but that is every way that you will proceed any type of goal as a mere mortal. There is no, you're not just gonna, if someone's listening to this and we're gonna be talking about our annual goals and reflecting back on it, just like holistically looking at it really broadly, one of the biggest things is you got to kind of have start somewhere, because you'll always retrospect on it and go like, oh yeah, fuck, that sucked. And
Yeah.
I could show you, I'd like in almost every single goal I ever set, I could go back and go, I could have done that better, but I would never have known at the time that I could have done that better.
Yeah. I mean, like, the easiest thing in the world is if you know exactly what you want to do, and how to get there, then you just have to do it. I think that's almost like being on autopilot in a way. That's
Hmm.
kind of how I feel for my handstands at the moment. I've gotten to the point where I'm I'm almost at what you would call, I don't know, advanced level, I guess. I
Hmm.
don't know, beginner or upper intermediate, something like that. The route to getting what I want, which is a one arm handstand of really good quality, it's just so kind of simple and easy and apparent to me now. I just have to put in reps. I just have to put in an absurd amount of work. I know how to train. I know how to, uh, what I actually need to be doing. I know how to see progress and measure progress. When I was first learning how to handstand, that was completely different. It was just like, oh, well, how do you balance? Like, what's this thing? I don't get it. None of it makes sense. So I think yeah, once you actually know exactly what you're doing, you can kind of just be on autopilot. That's the easy part of goal setting. Like, so it's almost like you don't even need to do it. It's just like, oh, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. Well, I've always, slightly adjacent, but I've always liked the mentality of the art of learning Josh Waitzkin style of thought process, which is, the more you become a master at something or you learn something, it's like the initial picture of what you saw the activity or the event to be, it becomes autopilot. Like it just becomes your unconscious. But then you can be conscious about the things which are at a bit of a deeper level. And so then you can focus on it. So I think I've mentioned this before, I guess in handstands. When I go up on a handstand, I'm consciously thinking about my entire body and I'm like, oh, I'm holding myself. But that's not the way you think. For you, it would be, it's unconscious now of being upside down. It's hey, my finger. Hey, it's my shoulder position. Hey, it's my traps. So you're at like a very deep level down but there's again, the comparison of that goal. You have to kind of go through that journey to get to those levels to be zoning in on that. And even if I was to ask you, Karen, I was like, okay, I'm going to set my next annual goal and it's going to be about, I want to get to this particular point. Again, yes, you could give me some feedback, but also depending on, you could give me like the literal, very correct quality, precise information. Like, hey, your fingertips should be in this position and your shoulder blades should feel this. And, you always comment for me about, hey, your feet should be like straighter and, get them together and whatnot. I don't even feel that. I don't even feel that when I'm doing handsets, because when I do it, and I still do it for fun, right? I've been doing it as much. But when I do it, honestly, it's more like all I can maybe consciously or like subconsciously is like I'm contracting my abs and I'm trying to just hold myself up there and I can feel the strain. That's it. There's no like spare inch of my thought that can connect with the feet. So it's kind of like pointless. And once again, in setting annual goals, monthly goals, a goal in general, it's going to be at least at a target somewhere for me to kind of journey towards. And maybe it'll be towards this, learning path that you've taken or someone else has taken, but you'll stumble upon it and then you'll reflect back on that goal and go, oh, okay, I should have asked it in this particular way. Might be the same way, but you kind of almost have to go through the doing. Right? You have to kind of go through the deed to reflect on the goal, which is why it's super important. And again, a broader thing about goals. And one thing that's kind of cemented in my mind is the deed aspect, right? The action aspect of any goal is the most important piece, because one, you could write a goal and, we've written lots of goals. In large part, we've attempted to do a lot of them, right? I'm not going to say like 100% we've finished all of them, but at least we've attempted all of them in some way, shape, manner, or form. And so there's doing attached to that. And that brings more value to the actual goal itself. Reflectively, today, actually, I was just doing, did I do any notes for this podcast? No, zero, none. But as what I actually spent doing, I was like just taking my notes for the day today. I was like, okay, how was my day today? And dude, today was fucked. There was so many fuck things today, like just so much shit. But I kind of reflected on, at the end of the day, I was like taking down my notes and I kind of stopped and went, yes, but if I really reflect on the day, I got everything done that I wanted to get done. Like everything actually got done. And yes, while I complain about some things and some things happened and things got forgotten and blah, 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 I kind of got towards the tail end and I went, I was able to this, or I was able to do that. Encapsulated, there was some anti-fragility qualities to the entirety of the day. And then in a loose sense, I'm not saying in an exact sense, I can map it to a lot of annual goals over the past years. And I go, see, this is where it's coming out to. It's like, okay, I couldn't have told you 3 years ago and putting annual goals, or even the annual goals that I started doing this year or the year before, that it would have reached to the point of a today when something like a today happened. But it kind of comes out okay. Whereas retrospectively looking like 2 years, 3 years, I could assess, I would have been in a panic state or, being like just frantic trying to do things. So there's also like a quality of seeing it in your day to day as well.
For sure. Let's jump on to how you actually did last year, man. We've been skirting around it. What's your plan? How'd you go?
I've got it open in front of me, and again, this is going to get statistics, right? We're engineers, folks, here at the Mere Mortals, so that's what you get.
Mine's not.
Um,
Mine's absolutely not that.
well, mine will. I think mine will continue to be in some way, shape, or form some sort of numbers, and I continue to do this because it's an easy glance for me in one end. But I'll give you the top line levels.
Yep.
Yearly progress for mine
Mhm.
was 87%. Yes, that's correct. 87%, which I aimed for 85%, and I can get into like what that actually means. But what I more care about was a monthly progress, which is 88, and the aim for that was 85%. So what does that mean in kind of like more broadly, like talking terms? It's of the 20 goals that I had planned. Now, as we said, there's like a yes no tangent to it, but I also split it up into, hey, at what stage does it get up to 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, 100%, right? So 100% being like yes, anything below that, it's some sort of gray zone. And obviously, I just kind of sum them all up. That gives me a percentage. But the monthly progress achievement is, we do our monthly goals, and I'll just go through and basically, if on a month of January, I've done 7 out of 8, that's a percentage. And I'll just give myself a percentage across all of the averaged months, and it comes out to 88. So broadly, like I achieved a lot of things at the very like top line, which I was really happy about. Now I'm assuming you don't have anything kind of equivalent to this in like that sort of numbering, right? Do you have like a summary, like a descriptive summary that you would say?
I do. I kind of have what I did and didn't do out of my 8, and it's kind of I just labeled it good, neutral, and bad. So
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'll give you the full
Yeah.
the entirety of mine, and then we can kind of go through yours. So give you an idea. So what I do then is I've got the statistical numbers. I then have a qualitative notes, which is a summary both of the annual goals plus every item across like the daily notes that I take. So I'll give you like a spiel, right? Mine was the year was filled with a ton of learnings and changes. It was the year that I became a dad. It was also the time I sort of came back together with my partner. Life took a turn into the superb. Moved it towards the tail end. There was a lot of support for a good friend of mine with a separate company. There was a lot of effort put around Ryan Holiday books. Read the Tony Robbins books, but it was a meh. And there's a couple of other things around friendships, connections, call-outs normally as well. So things like Joey's Bucks, attending that. And then a couple of notes about some crypto financial things as well. So I have a big qualitative note.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I actually then go to my left-hand side, so I'm not sharing it, but just talking through the amount of items that I actually set as like, hey, I've done this 100%. So I'll say like my good was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 out of 20 is like 100%. I got them all done. And there were things like preparing for baby, planning like a month-to-month thing with my significant other. That was really great. I enjoyed doing that. Catch-ups with families, sort of securing crypto. A lot of the book reading stuff, I was really happy with that. Especially like pre having a baby, I was able to read a lot of the things that I was setting out to do, especially the large amount of Ryan Holiday books that I read. That was really quite good. And while the stretching one, that one was a big one last year. I was able to at least do a weekly session of dedicated stretching at a minimum of 30 minutes. Right? Yeah. And that was large. I don't do that at all nowadays, but I thought that was a big call out. So that's kind of like on the goods as a bit of an overall. The one sort of at the very lowest where things like, and again, reflectively, I look back on it and I go, I could have written this better. Like, what did they? I'll go like, what did I really mean by this? One of them was chew your water and drink your food mentality, aim for quality and more of the moment. Which I go, I know what that means. Putting that like into practice is hard. Like that's I don't know, too wishy-washy, not enough descriptiveness, maybe not enough precision. That's one of them that I just went, I didn't really attack that one at all. Completing French through Duolingo. Now, Duolingo did fuck me over.
Yeah, it did.
So Duolingo, that's partly on Duolingo, but yeah, I did not even come close to completing French through Duolingo. But I did enjoy. So that I only gave myself 60%, but I did get a lot of French in me, right? Like to the point I didn't expect myself to be at the level that I'm now, preparing to start reading a French book. or I can generally now see things in like French, especially like a wine or a champagne bottle or something randomly on the street, and I go like, oh yeah, I know what that is. Or you'll see a cafe, I'm like, oh yeah, cool. It's like a come to my place type of translation. So I really enjoy that. Massive one that like zero completely didn't get done was travel internationally and explore somewhere new. That just got ejected and exploded. That didn't even happen at all. Again, life changed, and that's okay. And the other one, the one that definitely didn't happen, I had one down was work towards an 82 kilogram lean weight, but just as strong. Now, I didn't stay as strong, and I didn't lean down. I just stayed exactly the same way. So there you have it. So those are kind of like some of those learnings, just at a more like high level, I would say.
Okay, nice. Let's do my ones after the Boostergram Lounge. Let's keep this a nice, short and sharp episode. I think
Cool.
that'll be
Okay, let's do it.
the go for today. So
You want to give a little spiel to the Boostergram Lounge before I go into it?
Sure. So this is a value for value show. I have the value for value show, a podcast as well, but what that basically means is we don't have any ads, we don't have any sponsors. Everything that you get from us is just purely from our own thoughts, with no filter, anyone telling us you can't say that, you shouldn't, or should say this. And that means that we have to rely on your support for this podcast to continue. If you don't, if we want to keep doing this for as long, I certainly want to do this as like a full-time job. And to make that happen, we do need some support coming in from everyone at home. We ask that you do this through Boostergrams. I have just now done on the Value for Value show a walkthrough of the 8 apps where you can do this and how you can get some Bitcoin on the Lightning Network in a relatively easy manner. That is now on our site, or will be very shortly, meremortalspodcast.com/support, of how you can actually support us. If you want the easier route, there is a PayPal option as well. So what Juan is going to do now is read out some Boostergrams, which are messages that people have sent in those apps with a bit of money attached to it, and we can thank them directly.
Absolutely. Now, there is always a dependable Dave Jones, which turns up here in these Boostergram lounges.
And it came in double because we are recording slightly later as well.
Yes, good point. I might even just double up on that. So there's the weekly boost for the Mere Mortal Light Nation, 12,112 sats and using Cron. And then there's, as you mentioned, recent one from today as well, another weekly boost.
Yep.
So that's 12,112 sats and using Dave. Again, Dave, super appreciative that continues to come as amazing.
It's helped us get through some very lean times when none were coming through. So it is very much appreciated.
We've got a couple of longish ones here. So I'll start with the first one. Macintosh. Notice, I used to love the idea of Kindle on iPad. I used to travel a lot, and being able to have hundreds of books at my disposal was enticing. Turns out, like you all, I like the paper better. I do think a lot of this could be solved through better formatting. With the recent iPad, I have a device that can display millions of colors at extremely high resolution, and yet is in virtually every ebook I own. The graphics are a joke. At least fonts are adjustable, but still, it's painful. Maybe one day. Macintosh. That's 2100 sats and using Fountain.
Yep.
I actually saw another comment by someone just randomly on Instagram as well, a friend of mine, and she posted saying, like, hey, this Kindle is up for, like it was like on a discount on some particular website. And so she made a comment that she has personally thousands of books. I can't confirm that claim. But then she says, like, hey, it doesn't matter. Kindle's still like really worth it. You should absolutely get it. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm swayed to using Kindles or anything like that just yet.
So I do hope to travel next year, and I do have this one which is very old now. I think it kind of works, but it's probably, I've got all of these things which are basically just running out of juice. This electric shaver that I've got for my face, it kind of needs to be charged the night before to have the juice to be able to do it. I think the Kindle is very much like that. A whole bunch of my things, like even my phone, somewhat is, I think, starting to lose battery pretty quick. So I might be getting a new Kindle. There's this funny thing. So I still like regularly checking into Cardano and see what's happening on that blockchain. Although it's certainly of less interest to me now compared to a year ago, 2 years ago. But one of the big things there is called book.io, and it's basically this whole thing where these guys are trying to get books on this like basically open ledger. You know how everything is trying to become like decentralized and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And one of the main reasons they're doing this kind of like decentralized book thing is apparently there have been stories of people downloading 1984, for example, on the Kindle, buying it, buying the book onto their Kindle, and then it getting taken off, or this book which has some naughty themes in it, or maybe it deals with some intense issues like pedophilia, much like Lolita by Nabokov. I think that was Nabokov. uh, that those books can just kind of get taken from your Kindle, and you
Right.
don't even have the option to put on a PDF or something like that. So yeah, there's I would, if I'm going to get one, it's definitely one where I've got this whole back catalog of just things on my hard drive here of Mobi and PDFs, which I just want to upload so much easier. Um, so if I'm going to get a Kindle, it would have to have that feature of me being able to just put my own
Okay.
books into it rather than,
Into his own location. Yeah.
yeah.
No, fair enough. Randomly, do you know about the online library, like the Infinity Library or something like that, where every single word that have ever existed or that has ever been has already been written?
No.
I'll let people. I won't even go into too
What
much
does
more
this
detail,
mean?
but I'll let. Hey,
I don't understand.
it's basically just by the sheer number of letters. If you go and try to Google this, essentially find like Infinity Library.
Hmm.
It's the way that it's set up is essentially that you can type. I think it's a string of like 120 characters of whatever you can think of. Like, hey, Karen went to the moon and bought some Bitcoin. And it'll be in a book, in a page somewhere already on that online library, because it's just mathematically, programmatically set up so that every single permutation of every like 120 characters has been created into this library online.
Of actual words.
Yep.
But does it have Yeah, I call bullshit on that because there's all sorts of words that I I doubt would be, no, that seems too big. That seems like it would run into the limitations of computation. I'm calling bullshit on that.
That's what I thought too. That's what I thought too until I went through the Matt. There's a Matt's video that shows like there's enough of them to show that it would happen. But actually, I
call
can't remember the
bullshit.
name of it. There you go. Karen calls bullshit on the Mats. And then another one we got here is by Peter. So he says, great topic, great points. The best cure to the problems of not being able to give up boring books is to do what Karen did. Read a bunch of original philosophy books, especially Derek Parfit.
Oh yeah,
If it doesn't train you in the fine art of dropping dry books, nothing will.
correct.
3838 sat sent using Podverse.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
There you go. And he's using Podverse.
Yeah, I saw that. That was really cool. It's nice to see people boosting in from different locations. There was one thing I was actually just going through here
Mhm.
on our Get Albi account because I can kind of see some stuff, and I see someone called Amy the Great sent in a message rad for the Mere Mortals.
That last time.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay. All right.
Yes,
Sorry.
because that was in the
Yes.
morning.
Ah, yeah. So that would be 500 because this is 10%. Yes. Okay, that makes 100% now. Yep. Awesome. Sweet. Cool.
Yep.
Thank you.
By the way, just because I know people might question me on this or they want to look at it, if you're interested in what I was saying about that library thing, it's called Library of Babel, and it's libraryofbabel.info, and it has in there like the theory of how they do it and the random search, and if you want to like just go wild with it. So libraryofbabel.info.
All right.
That's the
I'll,
thing.
I'll
If
check it out
if you're
after this.
curious enough to look into it.
I have heard there's a library in Minecraft which someone created, and you know how in Minecraft you can kind of read the little books. Like if you click on the page, it's only maybe like 7 words are able to fit on it, but
Mhm.
apparently you can go into this Minecraft library, and it's kind of this decentralized way to get access to books you'd never be able to read in your country if you're in Saudi Arabia, or if you're in Oman or something like that, because
Right.
there's
Okay.
certain books which they won't allow in those countries. I think there's probably still ones here in Australia as well. I haven't really looked into it much, but I'm sure there's books which have been banned. And yeah, you can go into this library in Minecraft and do it as well. So that
Wow,
just
there you go.
totally defeats the purpose of that whole Cardano thing. But
Plenty of places where you can get your illegal books, folks.
yeah, exactly. I
All
did
right,
just
now
check the
give me
PayPal.
your.
So no,
Mm,
no, you can still be the first. I'm telling you, people, this is like undervalued opportunity. The undervalued opportunity, the first to send us in a PayPal, and just no one wants to take it up. It's crazy. It's crazy. It'll happen. It'll happen sometime. So
mhm.
if you want to impress me, if you want to impress Juan, just send that in. Just send it in. Yeah, cool. Thank you everyone for doing that. Very much appreciated, and everyone for who is streaming in as well. We don't call those out because it's a little bit harder to see, but we do notice it, and it is very much appreciated. Cool. So you want to hear mine one? You wanna know how I
Go
did?
on. Give me your. Well, first of all, I wanna I guess ask is how do you do the summary?
So honestly, man, if we didn't do this episode, I wouldn't have even really looked at it, to be honest.
Mhm,
And even though this finished relatively recently for me, it was only 12 days ago that I was still technically in the still trying to achieve these. I I very much once I'm onto a new set, I basically just write off the old. I don't even look at them, to be honest. It's
mm.
kind of like that's in the past, that's done. Is it even really worth reflecting on that much?
Even if the ones that you haven't done,
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
So I no, this is going to be my reflection is just the little bit of prep that I did for this,
Mhm,
and talking about it here now. So I'll just list them out. So 2023 goals for me for a partner was to find an interesting chick. Relationships, become more proactive in my communities. That was just like online and digital, didn't really, sorry, online and physical didn't really matter between the two. Financial, no overexposure, but experiment. I had exposed myself a little bit too much. I think we both got a bit too caught up in the hype of
mhm.
crypto in 2021, 2022, that period. So that year it was very much like holding the reins, holding the reins. Health, full front, middle splits, and pancake. I already talked about that. Spirituality. I wanted to create some memorable moments because 2021 and 2022 were a absolute blur to me. They're basically the same year in my mind, which has never really happened to me before. And I wasn't sure if that was due to just getting old. I think it was more like COVID hangover, that type of deal. And because a lot of people have seem to have had this similar experience. So I wanted 2023 to be a bit more memorable. Travel, prioritize German and Spanish conversation. So it was really for the Spanish conversations bit, for the conversation aspect rather than the learning per se. Character, figure and fix out some of my bad tendencies, and then knowledge and skills, understand basic coding was what I written. So I hadn't even written anything about Python. It was just about coding.
Mm.
So yeah, just upon reflection, I split it up into just good, bad, and neutral. I didn't have any statistics to back up any of these things. It was more of a yeah, this is kind of how I feel I went on them. So I put 3 in the good, 3 in the neutral, and 2 in the bad. Do you want to have a little guesstimate as to what you think? And anything that I screwed up or anything I did really well?
Well,
What
I'm
do you
gonna
reckon?
say the finding a chick is probably in the bad,
Okay, yeah. Anything else?
and I'd say in the good, you're gonna have the splits and stuff like that for sure. I think the language learning would also be in the good, and I would put maybe the other bad would be the coding.
Hmm.
That would be some of my guesses.
See, the interesting thing with this is I didn't sort these out based on if I actually achieved it or not. It was more on the effort that I put into it. So
Right. Okay.
when I look at it, I go good. One of the things was actually the coding. I put in the minimal time required to find out and disqualify for actually learning it. I basically
Okay. Fair.
I put in enough effort to try it out, and I gave it a solid try. Did some books. I've still got all of these Python scripts on my computer in this little folder. Uh, I still have the I can't even remember what it's called, VS Code or one of the ODE. Yeah, I've forgotten all of it. Like it was just it. I learned enough to go. I don't want to do this, and so funnily enough, one of my usually when you're starting to learn to code something, all the advice I've heard from people who are good at it is have a project in mind that you want to accomplish, i.e., a goal, and work towards doing that. So I had in my mind, okay, I want to be able to create a script in Python, and so I ended up like looking at the different ones, and I went, okay, yeah, Python seems to be the best language, general suited language for kind of what I want to do. To basically scrape my own RSS feed, pull out every JSON file that's in there, be able to change it up so that new links are able to be inserted in that, and then upload that to another host. Basically, because at the moment we're somewhat restricted on Buzzsprout. If I move off of there, 50 hours of work is just going to disappear because they're going to delete all the links. The chapters won't necessarily get transferred over to a new host, all of these sorts of things. And that's what I wanted to. That's where I was like, well, if I can put in 50 hours of coding to save myself 50 hours of fucking re-uploading all this shit, probably wouldn't be 50 hours, but it would be a significant amount of time, a full day or two. That would be worth it. And so I tried, figured out I didn't like it. I'm not going to have the patience to do it. But I just emailed one of the hosts, Todd at Blueberry, and he might be able to do exactly what I want just as part of being a good host and a service. Because 6 months ago, I did ask them, and they were like, nah, we can't do that. Whereas now, maybe. So
Maybe. Okay.
all of my that if I can you imagine if I'd put all of this effort to learn Python to do all of this stuff, and then I just found out, oh, he might just do it anyway for So
I mean, that's not super dissimilar in a tech world. Sometimes this happens a lot in tech where it's like you'll spend. I don't know. I'll give you an example. I've sent people off to do something, and they'll spend like almost 3 full work days trying to do something, and with all of a sudden to be turned around and be like, oh, by the way, we're just using this out of the box solution, which just does it anyway.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
like,
yeah, I know, right? Yeah, that's kind of the feeling I got. It's one of those ones where it would take me a long time to do this, but someone else could whip up in half an hour, if that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, good. I put that in the good category. Once again, one that was more about the effort rather than the result was the girl category. I put in a shit ton of time trying to find an interesting chick, and whilst I didn't find one who's like going to be a life partner, I didn't even find one who I was really wanting to date long term or anything like that. I did find interesting ones, and I was pretty proud of myself. When I look back, I'm like, man, I put in a shit ton of effort. I went out searching. Like I actually put in a lot of effort. So once again, not related to the actual end goal, but how I approached it, I was pretty happy with. For crypto and the financial one, I just wrote, I'm still alive and not homeless, so that's a win. So I'm putting that as, yeah, I didn't overexpose myself.
Okay. Yeah.
Not that I would even really know right now, because it was very much a sideways year, so nothing really happened anyway. For the neutral things, I'd say I got significant flexibility gain, so I actually improved a lot, but I did a lot less work than I thought I would be doing. For those who don't know, I used to do 2 or 3 hours of stretching basically every morning. The last year or two, it was really down to 2 hours, maybe an hour. If you averaged it out, it would probably be an hour to an hour and a half per day. This last year, I would say I did maybe 20 minutes on average. I did a lot at the start of the year, and then just towards the end of the year was just, nah, not interested, didn't have the time, didn't want to do it in winter, that sort of deal. And yet I still improved a lot, man. I can basically do, it's not super pretty, but I can do a standing split at the moment. If I just wrap my arm kind of around my calf a little bit, I can do a full standing split. My feet aren't squared, so it's kind of like if you see especially like young girls gymnasts, they do this a lot where they'll be doing a standing split, but their back leg is kind of like turned out, so it's not real nice looking, where it's their feet are facing forward and facing back. It's more like one foot's kind of like turned out to the side sort of deal.
Right.
But I can do that doing the standing split, which is pretty cool. So that one kind of felt like a cheat. I got a lot done without doing as much as I thought. So I put that as a neutral one.
Okay.
I was looking through some photos just of this last year, and I was relatively happy with what I actually did during the year. I had some really great moments going out with handstand friends to Mount Tambourine. I spent some real quality time with my parents, with my brother, obviously with Joey's wedding as well. You had that kind of in your goals as well, where it was just um, everything. I didn't shut myself in. I certainly got a lot done outside of just being the goals themselves. So I'm
Mm.
definitely going to remember 2023 in a more positive light and for better things than I will 2021 or 2022. So that was pretty good. Uh, the last one in the neutral was I didn't focus on the conversation. So I half did. For Spanish, I definitely did. I stopped bothering trying to read Spanish books. I stopped bothering, using Spanish dictionary to learn things. I really did, and even podcasts, minimal, very minimal. But I did spend a lot of time going out, making friends with a Peruvian guy on my brother's team, a soccer team. I spent time going out and just meeting people. I spent a decent amount of time on the conversational aspect for that. For German, meh, no, almost none. Couple of
Right.
random people I talked to here and there, but yeah, I can't say I put in enough effort on the conversational aspect. But
Hmm.
I can actually understand a lot because I have been listening to a lot of podcasts and just learning it on and off through Duolingo. So I'm relatively happy with where I'm at, even though my conversational skills in it would be minimal, shoddy
Mm.
to say the least. So those were the good, the or neutral. The last two, the bad ones. Uh, I'd say for the going out and actually being proactive in communities, I didn't really do that much. I certainly went out a lot. I went to things, but I wouldn't say that I was proactive in there. And that was kind of the point of it, was to actually put some effort in. Hey, are people going to come here? And I should try and kind of rally the troops. I should put in active energy to fostering things online to actually be able to get people to come in. And it's not my strong suit just in general, but that was the kind of point of the goal, was to actually put in some active, be proactive. And I can't say I really did that. So
Mm.
slightly disappointing on that. Would my life be significantly changed if we had more
Yes.
people in yeah, more people in our Discord, if I had started up a book club, if I had made myself invaluable to any of the meetup groups? Yeah, it's not like I did nothing. I certainly, I got on the soapbox for the at the Bitcoin event, sort of in preparation for Joey's wedding, so I got over that public speaking fear a little bit. But yeah, not the best, not the best on that one. And then the last one was just with the character building. So even though I did spend a lot of time going out trying to meet girls and things like that, it still made me mopey and beating myself up internally, which is not a great character quality and something I was trying to focus on, but obviously I didn't focus on enough because I still was just a there was a period there, and if you go back through the episodes, you can go find that kind of period around, when was it? I think it was around the March period, March, April, May, something like that, where I was just being
Mm. Coinciding with a bit of winter.
coinciding with winter, coinciding with me having to take some time off from handstands and things like that because I was busting myself open, just doing way too much. Yeah, all of that kind of culminated in me just being a little mopey bitch for a while, which is not a great
Mm.
character building.
Can confirm.
Definitely not. What was the goal itself? To figure out and fix my bad tendencies. No, 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 no.
Now, here's a comment, and this is a curiosity comment, not an attack comment.
Okay.
But I could To me, at first, so at a glance, and you are continuing. We did the annual goals for 20, like for your future ones as well, and you're continuing on with like 8, which is like a nice, like focused in on those things. But as you kind of like talk through those ones just then, I guess people might look at it like say objectively and go, "Hey, you didn't accomplish any of them." Now you've just ranked them in terms of, I guess, effort that you put against them,
Mm,
and that makes sense around like the goods, the neutral, the bads, obviously. But then if someone was to ask the question, yeah, cool, and yes, effort, like effort is a big piece to the equation, and that's what you also should like in a large way. You should be very focused on the effort is and the journey that you go through a particular goal. Just like we talked about it, is what makes a big part of the goal itself, because then you can retrospectively look at it and see how you actually determined to go. Just because you achieve something or succeed in something doesn't maybe expose or get what you actually wanted out of the goal. But it still stands to reason that of those 8 ones that you kind of noted, there wasn't any like, yep, you've ticked the box. You did it. You did that.
mm,
I think it's kind of like, oh no, you. It sounded like there was enough things that you called out in there that, oh, you didn't do any of those 8s.
yeah.
How would you? I mean, if someone was to question it like that, from a curious perspective, do you think that that's because you've gone through the years and gone, no, this actually works better in the way that you set the goals, as opposed to like ticking the box or calling it 100% or saying like, yes, I've done
Pretty
this.
much, yeah. I was going to say, the thing with that is, let's say I had made it something like do 20 hours of Duolingo on German. If I'd gotten that finished within the first 6 months, I'd just stop. I know what I'm like. If I tick off the thing, I don't need to put in the extra effort. I don't want to keep going on because I've done the thing. I've ticked it off. Like it's done. So
Mm,
for me, this is where it's you need to know about how you are internally. I know that when I tick something off and it's done, it's done. So when I go for a workout and I've got my plan, I've got my set schedule of this is how many reps I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on one arms today. I'm going to do 4 sets by 10 of different variations on the left and right arm. Finish off with another 6 4 by 6 sets of supplementary ab work or something. Day in, day out, when I finish that, I don't do extra. Even if I'm feeling good, even if I'm feeling shit, there is no extra stuff being done. And that's just how I work. If I have
mhm,
something and I tick it off, it's done. So when I set these kind of longer term ones, i.e., a year or longer, I actually don't really want anything that is as simple as that. Uh, it could be demoralizing for some people. Oh shit, I never got it done. It's always lingering there. Um, I don't feel that thing. I kind of am okay, like we talked about with the books. I'm okay leaving something half finished. If I'm done with it, even if I'm not haven't read every single word, that's fine. I'm done with it.
mm,
So this is where I would just say, knowing myself, if I'd set them out in that way, where it was a tick, easy yes or no sort of question, uh, I wouldn't get as much done. I'd say so. And
mm,
psychologically speaking, I'm okay having these longer term ones, not being able to tick them off, because I've got so much shit that I do just day in day out where I can feel accomplishment of the monthly goals. Yeah, for 4 hours or 8 hours or whatever, that one I can feel good or feel bad about not doing it. Today I did an hour and a half of Portuguese, getting me towards that 4/8 hours, which we talked about on the last monthly goals. That makes me feel good and makes me feel, and hopefully I'll get 4 hours this month at the very least. That'll make
mm.
me feel good. I don't need that for the longer ones. So I get what you're saying,
And
but
would you say so? And would you say, because there's a differentiation here for people who are listening as well? Is this because this is what works for you, or would you expand and say, based on the learnings of going back through annual goals and setting and whatnot, this is how you would probably recommend it for most people?
oh Most people. I don't know, man. I'm not most people in how I live, and the way I think.
Well, and that's kind of like, and I was wondering, I wanted to see if that's the path you, because in my mind I go, I wouldn't recommend that for most people.
Yeah,
The way
I'm
that
trying to
you're,
think. Have you ever read a book about uh, goal setting over short, medium, and long term periods? Have you ever read a book and how that
a few. I
recommends how
mean,
you do that?
predominantly, I mean, the biggest thing that you'll saw is like, setting yourself up in star setups or smart objectives, and there's a few. What's Peter Drucker's? Can't remember the name of it. But there's a few in terms of be specific, be timely, be measurable, be objectional,
Mm,
find the acceptance around it. So, in the way that we both have described the goals, I would say, hey, I can see some of them, not all of mine, have like some specificity to it. Sure,
yeah,
right. Yours are more like, the way that I would think of them is less a goal, but more an aspiration of where you want to be spending your energy at.
yeah, yeah.
But that
Correct,
works. But that works better for you
correct. Yeah,
than goal because of what you just turned.
I'm just trying to think. If I had to broadly look at most people in my life and have a feel for what they do or don't do wrong when it comes to saying they want to do something and they don't do it, it's probably that they don't hold themselves accountable enough. If I had to guess.
Mm.
So in that case, yeah, this is probably not recommended for everyone because I am pretty harsh on myself when it comes
Well, see,
to
that's a good. Actually,
discipline
that's
and that. Yeah.
actually a better. Maybe that's a good definition. Here's I guess, in my words, the more disciplined or harsh or more precise you're going to be on something that you write out to be, then maybe the looser or the more aspirational or more open-ended the goal maybe should be, so that you don't square or box yourself in.
Hmm.
And then inversely, if you are, which kind of makes sense, like me, I'm someone who can bounce between lots of things and, hey, shiny thing, shiny thing, shiny thing. I'm going to fucking spend all my energy on lots of million things. I then thrive from a much more disciplined, exact, squared away thing because it keeps me to that. And then I like the fact of, when something is done, yep, cool, ticked 100%, whatever it may be. But then I can kind of, like, from a network tree style, I can see where the other connectors are and what's next and what's the next sort of thing. So yeah, maybe I'll take it. It probably depends also on the individual's habit to how they spend their energy and follow goals, and to how tight or how loose a goal may be.
And it probably relates to this. I am similar in that sense of I do like that feeling. Like I do like being able to tick things off. I do like seeing green rather than red in terms of a daily thing or a monthly thing or whatever. When it comes to these longer term ones, so if I, for example, had set the goal of complete that project of being able to download all the JSON files and do that, if I had made that a yes or no type thing and I'd learned halfway through, I don't want to do this, I would feel double bad because then I would be like, oh, I'm just being like a lazy piece of shit. This thing is something I know it's hard. I know I'm not enjoying it, but I should keep going at it. I should keep doing that because I've got this thing that needs to be done.
Would you have not been comfortable with saying to yourself, hey, I failed this, and there's a reason behind that failure, and it's either because I didn't know at the time that I wouldn't enjoy that, or I didn't write it the right way, or I didn't, find the insert to then learn from that?
I would feel like it's wishy-washy if I'm making that call of, oh, I thought it was this. I thought I would enjoy this, and I'm doing this thing and
Mm.
I get midway
Like, it's too
through.
much of a way out.
Yeah, yeah. Then if it allows my brain to, because I think like we're all good at tricking ourselves, and so you just got to find out what's the way that your brain tries to trick you. My one is it would be if 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 I can let myself off the hook for this one thing, why then can't I let myself off the hook for this other thing? So if I'd gotten, midway through, learned, coding, I'm not really enjoying this. It's not actually going to be that useful. I could either just pay someone, I could maybe spend that time instead learning ChatGPT and it could do the coding for me, or it might just be a problem that solves itself out, like I was describing with the hosting. Then I could probably turn around and look at some of these other ones and just be like, it was a memorable year. I spent a lot of time like inside doing memorable things at
Hmm.
my computer. I think I'd be able to find a way of weaseling out of another thing which I was meant to do. So yeah, for me it's yeah, it's weird. Like there's there's asp if it's that kind of unknown thing, I'd rather keep it looser. That's basically the way it is. So
Yeah, okay.
that's
And I think
yeah.
this is like look, there's a good learning point for people as they're listening in. And if you do your own goal settings, or if you don't do it just yet, because I'm very different in the sense of, the two that I called out. One, there was the working towards an 82 kilogram lean weight. The other one from last year was Operation 30 level 2 body, which was all around like I wanted to like up the ante on my lifts and my weight and all that sort of stuff. And I didn't do it. Like it was I did effort towards it and I put effort around it, but I can look at it and go, I didn't achieve that. And I go, cool, I failed both of them, if you want to term it that way. But when I reviewed each one of those, I went, I see where I failed. Like I see the error in the original onset. Not that it was a problem when the original goal was set, but on a retrospect, and kind of like at the beginning, I go, hey, retrospecting on it, I see that either A, that wasn't possible with the multitude of other things that were happening. Two, is it actually, you know, something that I do want to achieve, given now the reality of how much effort it takes? Like, what I was trying to achieve at that, what I thought maybe was going to be relatively easier in my mind, on retrospect, I go, shit, if I actually had thought about this, like it's just ridiculous. How in the world am I actually going to be getting all of those lifts? And if I break it down into weekly cycles and how I'm training and all, it just won't happen. Like it just won't happen. But I took the learning from failing at doing it, and that makes me feel good. If it was open ended and I allowed myself to say like, oh, and this can be a danger, because I also think that you should very much appreciate the effort. But I have a tendency that if I put effort to, like, if the goal was more around centered on effort, but I didn't have the real easy through view to say, oh no, but I failed at that, and here's the reasons, I would find that a difficult pill to swallow, because then maybe the way I would trick myself is to feel comfortable in the fact that whatever energy I put into it was good enough. And so here's the difference, because as you were saying about, you say, I felt pretty good about it. I felt like I did a lot of energy into this and that. Like I can tell in the way that you're saying it, and you do like personally feel like satisfied and like that was success. And I have this like default response in my mind. I'm like, that sounds like a horseshit. Like it didn't get achieved. But then that's the learning on retrospectively when you're doing annual goals. And as we're talking about annual goals here, it starts to go towards the path of what's going to work best as you as an individual. When we very first began these annual goals, dude, they were kind of similar in the way that we were talking about statistics and the things. And not that the annual goals were the same, but maybe were written with a similar time boxing domain and the like. Now they're very different.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
They're very different. Obviously, you've shortened yours down. There's more of a descriptive nature. There's effort placed beyond that, where mine's tended to slide towards more of timeliness, exactness. There's like, I want to read 3+ books. I want to do these exact things. And look, I would say that for both of us, things are working, but you got to find out what works best for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is what also makes it hard, I think. In the retrospect, in the question I asked you of, would that be like a general thing for everyone? Now I kind of go again, kind of like in a retrospective, I go, hey, if someone's starting fresh, again, I think of like, my little girl or, someone young or something else, I'd go, you kind of have to just start again somewhere, just try somewhere, and then you will develop a path. And there's fucking 1,000 tools and techniques and ways that you can do it. But once again, you have to kind of go through the journey to see what realistically works for you, and vary, like you say, to try and avoid the easy ways that your brain tries to trick you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, know thyself. It's like a common theme here. We should make it the tagline.
Know thyself.
The last thing before I got onto my summary was I neglected to talk about what I actually wanted to achieve fitness wise for this upcoming year, because I don't even really talk about it. Like I said, it's sort of on autopilot in terms of what I want to do. Basically, this is actually a fun one because I'm going to scratch out what I was talking about just before about, if I've not done it, it's okay. I can just leave it in the past, because basically what I want to do for this year is just attack the last 4 years worth of fitness challenges that we did for ourselves. Well, that there was one that was like a joint one that we had, and then, or semi joint, and then I kind of branched off into my own thing, and you did your own. I'm going to go back to that and just try and get all of the things that I didn't do apart from the rowing.
I was about to say, fucking good luck on the rowing.
The rowing and some of the weight stuff.
What about the running?
The rowing, the weights, and the running. Okay, look,
okay.
It's basically just all the handstand.
So basically, what Karen's actually saying is, hey, I'm going to go back. I'm going to cherry pick all the other stuff, and I'm just going to stick to the body weight stuff that I want.
Essentially, yeah.
Yep,
so,
fair.
So there's all these ones related to getting a 2-minute handstand, 2.5 minute. I think some of those I probably actually am pretty close to. If not, I feel like right now.
I thought you were like a 5-minute handstand by now.
No. But I am really. Last year was a weird one because I had all of this stuff related to the one arm handstand, and then basically as soon as October came around, and that was when I started getting the tendonitis and the good old right elbow here, and that just messed me up. Something good. probably was about 6 months worth of having to treat it really gingerly, tenderly, build it back up to strength. Still being able to do a lot, but not exactly what I wanted to do. And then I was already in the mood of, okay, well, I kind of want to I want to get the stall here. I can kind of this year's already a write-off. I'm not going to be able to get essentially any of these one-arm handstand goals. Like, let's just focus on the staller. I'm pretty close to it. I get the feeling I'm only like a couple of weeks away or something like that. But yeah, this year, one-arm handstand, trying to get to 10, 15 seconds, both arms. That's basically, and then variations of.
You got to hurry up. You got some people in your handstand group who are already doing some long one-handed handstand.
Brendan's getting 11 seconds, which is it's pretty impressive. When I see him do that in person now, it's really like, fuck yeah, I want to do that. So yeah, my first session of that was on Tuesday, so 2 days ago. Awful, trash, like almost committed suicide based on just how much my hands hurt. So I've actually.
So you needed to be humbling. You needed to just get slapped in the face and realize how much we suck sometimes.
Yeah, so that's gonna get there. Do you want to give me your summary, man? Then I'll give mine, and then we can let all the
look in summary. And this is, I look back at previous annual goals and the way that I write them down. Always, I think the biggest learnings for me, the way that I'll look at it is, it is retrospectively that you will learn the most. And as I move forward into future annual goals, if I was to, when I do annual goals at 35 and at 37 and at 39, the biggest piece that I'm taking away is the annual goals have to, kind of like in a lot of things I do in life, in other places, but I'd never have really applied it into annual goals, is you have to leave fat because life will happen. And so filling it to the brim means that you will always not make something. And so in turn, I would say what I found more so is whatever you think you can do, you kind of detract a little bit from that, but then go double or triple down on those specific ones to make them longer, larger. Overall, what I've kind of found, at least for me with annual goals, is lower the quantity in terms of the number of differentiations, as in how much context shifting or changing you're doing, but then make them larger, bolder, hairier, because it makes you then push slightly harder. And while you might not make them, at least for me, I find that there's a lot more learnings and there's a lot more successes, at least mentally, in that particular path. Otherwise, for me, I'd go in a similar way to you. If they're too small or they're too scattered, it becomes a little bit hard to make them that memorable type of annual goals that you want to reflect on. Because that can be, if I let's say if I had 100 little goals that I achieved in a particular year, or if I had, set 9 that were really large and I achieved 6, the ladder's going to be a lot more memorable.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's probably like my little summary of some of the learnings.
Yeah, mine was if you hadn't been here, it still would have come up. So number one, overall, I really didn't get much done. Nothing screams out to me that I accomplished anything big. Not that the goals themselves were what I would describe as big per se. This is where it's getting to, what's that? Peter. It's not Peter. The guy who Peter Thiel, where it was like,
yes.
You know it better than I do. Something about trying to accomplish what you can do in 10 years in 1 year or something.
Yeah, it's basically, I think it's something along the lines of the question that sometimes get out to Peter Thiel from a startup perspective is, hey, is our plan to do this in a year or 2 years? Cool. But now if you had to do it in 2 months, how would you do it?
Yeah. So I don't like that approach personally, because I think that's a very one-minded thing. You just got to be going after that one thing, which I don't want to do. I want to go after lots of things. So for me, it was like, yeah, I don't think I feel like accomplished anything big, but I feel like I accomplished things at the same time. And I'm really starting to think that the value in this is mostly just about keeping a positive attitude, to be honest. If I had to, once again, when I was doing that little reflection and the kind of like the trade-offs, the takeaways, if I'd done this and I hadn't done that, the counter arguments, the hypotheticals, what would have happened if I had written a goal and it just made me annoyed that I couldn't do it, or lethargic, or depressed because I was not focusing on it, even though I should be and I said I would be, and that sort of thing. I think that takes away much more than the arbitrariness of, all of these are pretty arbitrary, to be honest, that the goal itself adds. So it's essentially just getting into a more philosophical, I guess, but it's just, these are just things that I'm wanting to do. I like improving. I like trying to make the world a better place. That's kind of the life philosophy that's pretty close to the deepest that I can get to. And I think doing this helps me become a better person and helps me achieve that. And so I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, to be honest. And I wrote this, it's the moment that matters, not the material. So this is very much that my way of saying to enjoy the journey and not focus on the actual end goal itself, the accomplishment, much like we were saying just before. I put in a bunch of effort. Did I really achieve anything? No, not really. But I guess it's like an addition of hedonism or Epicureanism to my overall philosophy, which is just, I want to create these things so that I'm enjoying life more and getting stuff done at the same time. So yeah, if I don't particularly accomplish anything, if I don't tick that box, that's kind of okay with me.
Okay.
Apart from the one-arm handstand, I fucking better get that.
Better get that. Very good. Now, folks, if you listened all the way through to this particular episode and you go, wow, yes, I want to support these motherfuckers, thank you very much for that episode. There's many ways you can do so. Karen, what's probably going to be the best way for folks to help out?
Yeah, before we get into that, I just did see Spam This is in the chat. It says, good morning, Wen. Random guess, the library has its own introduction inside it. They did it with pixels as well. I can build it. And then I launched my first app and found a wifey. She hedged all my crypto bets with camping equipment. It worked out well. The camping equipment I win. Maybe I should follow this guy's advice, man. He seems to have like excelled at the 3 things that I didn't do very well last year. Thank you very much. Spam this in the chat. Yeah, look, the best way to go about this is there's time, talent, and treasure. Time, just sharing this with someone who you think would get some interest out of this if they've complained about their goal setting and not getting done what they thought they were going to do. and want some thoughts on how to achieve things, how to look back at things, this is the perfect episode for that. So sharing that to them directly, or just doing it on any of the social media, stuff like that, does help out. And if you tag us, we will very much thank you for that as well. Talent. So if you have any talent, if you know of a book that you think sorts this out really well, that talks about the differences between long term and short term, and what type of mindset most people need rather than what I particularly need, Kyron need, I'd love to know a book related to that. And then finally, like we mentioned with the treasure of being able to support the show monetarily, this does cost hosting fees. It does cost equipment to fix up dodgy laptops, to put up. I put up all the
Still
audio
haven't
panels. It was looking a bit shaky the other day, so I added some more super glue to it. I'm still, if I make it to December, I'll be pretty happy.
You'll be impressed.
But yeah, I do expect to either one day wake up and it's fallen down, hit the bottle, which I leave underneath it, onto my computer, which is then spilled out onto the mixer itself. I do expect that. So, so we'll need some treasure to rebuy a new mixer and a laptop for me. So
for what's about to happen, planning
so,
for the future.
Yeah, so if you can support the show, it is very much appreciated, and it is necessary, to be honest, for us to keep continuing to do this in the long term. So meremortalspodcast.com/support to know about that, and we'll shout you out, and you'll be able to get a fancy shirt as well if you boost in 100,000 sats. Still a bunch of shirts left. Get on it.
Get on there before they go. All right, the Immortalized, thank you so very much for those who tuned on live. Thank you very much as well. We do go live 7 p.m. We do try to make it on the Wednesdays. Today is a Thursday, but the general tuning in is on the Wednesdays, so tune in if you can. And for now, I'm Immortalized. I hope you enjoyed. One out.
Kyron out.
Boy. Good.
Nice.
Good.
All right.